lying in bed at 11 o'clock at night, scrolling through your phone, and you spot a $200 jacket. You check your bank app, see you have $600, and your brain does a quick piece of arithmetic. 200 is less than 600, so you click purchase and go to sleep feeling perfectly fine about your decision. But that transaction is not actually complete. You did not pay $200 for that jacket. You paid closer to $3,000, and you simply will not receive the final bill for another 30 years. Every single purchase you make carries a hidden silent cost. It is the exact mathematical reason why two people can earn the exact same salary, live in the exact same city, and reach retirement with $1 million gap in their net worth. The entire consumer economy is precision engineered to make sure you only ever look at that initial receipt. They desperately hope you never learn how to calculate the second price tag. Historically, the S&P 500 index, a collection of the 500 largest publicly traded companies in the United States, has averaged about a 10% annual return over the long term. That average accounts for the worst economic chaos in modern history, including the Great Depression, the dot-com crash, and the 2008 financial crisis. Through all of that, the market has consistently marched upward, rewarding people who simply leave their money alone to grow. This diagram shows how exponential growth works over time. Because of compounding interest, every dollar you invest in your 20s and 30s has decades to multiply. If you invest money at a 10% return over roughly a 15-year average duration, every single dollar grows into more than $4. Now apply this math to the biggest wealth destroyer in the American middle class, the car payment. You walk into a dealership to buy a shiny new truck. The salesman does not ask if you can afford the $50,000 total price. He pulls out a piece of paper and asks what you want your monthly payment to be, getting you to agree to a manageable $780 a month for the next 6 or 7 years. This chart shows the devastating opportunity cost of that monthly slice. That $780 a month carries a much heavier hidden toll. If you take that exact same monthly amount and invest it in a boring index fund at historical average returns for 30 years, it grows to approximately $1.58 million. Meanwhile, you have a coworker making the exact same salary who bought a used Honda Accord for cash. He drives a car that looks a little boring, but he is quietly taking that $780 a month and automatically transferring it into his investment account. 30 years from now, you will be stressing about how to afford retirement, and he will be a liquid millionaire. You are choosing to destroy over $1.5 million of your future wealth in exchange for the privilege of driving a machine that loses 20% of its value the second you drive it off the lot. The second price tag also applies to the invisible, everyday purchases that completely bypass your financial alarm systems. If asked, most people guess they spend around $86 a month on digital subscriptions. When researchers actually pull bank statements, the real average American spend is $219 a month. The subscription pricing model is a brilliant psychological trap. $12 a month feels like absolutely nothing, so your brain does not register it as a threat. But in aggregate, that $219 a month equals over $2,600 a year. Invested at a conservative 7% return over 20 years, it becomes over $114,000. Consider the exhaustion tax of food delivery apps. You get home tired, you have decision fatigue, and you spend $50 on DoorDash 2 or 3 times a week. That is roughly $600 a month. If you were to invest that same delivery budget over 30 years, it compounds to over $700,000, traded purely for the convenience of not chopping your own vegetables. To master your money, you need a mental framework that makes this invisible cost instantly visible. The best way to do this is to stop measuring prices in abstract dollars and start measuring them in life energy. This concept, popularized by financial author Vicki Robin, recognizes that money is a physical representation of the finite, non-renewable hours of your life that you traded to acquire it. This diagram shows exactly how to calculate your own life energy. Take your monthly take-home pay, the actual money that hits your bank account after all the taxes, FICA, and health insurance premiums are stripped away. FICA is the federal payroll tax that funds Social Security and Medicare. Now divide that after-tax number by 160,
which is the approximate number of working hours in a standard month. Let's say this reveals your true after-tax hourly rate is $25 an hour. Now, every time you want to buy something, you run it through the Life Energy filter. You are looking at a brand new $700 smartphone to replace one that works perfectly fine. That phone does not cost $700. It costs 28 hours of your actual life.
You have to surrender almost a full week of your existence, dealing with your boss, sitting in traffic, enduring the stress of your job, just to own that specific piece of glass and metal. When you translate your spending from digital dollars into the literal hours of your life, the math becomes honest in a way that a price tag never could. The Life Energy calculation forces you to ask the only question that actually matters. Is this item worth the irreversible hours of my life that I am exchanging for it? Once you can see the second price tag, you have to actually stop yourself from making impulse purchases in the heat of the moment. Relying on willpower alone guarantees failure. Willpower is a finite resource that completely drains by the end of a stressful day. By 11 o'clock at night, your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for complex decision-making, is exhausted. You cannot out-discipline an entire retail industry that employs thousands of behavioral psychologists to exploit your cognitive weaknesses. You do not need willpower. You need friction. You need to implement the 72-hour firewall. For any non-essential purchase over $50, you are simply not allowed to buy it immediately. You can put it in your digital shopping cart, you can research it, but you must close the app and wait exactly 72 hours. Crucially, you are not telling yourself no. Telling yourself no triggers psychological scarcity, which makes your brain want the item even more. You are simply telling yourself, I will check back on Friday. This chart shows exactly what happens during that mandatory pause. The vast majority of our spending is impulse-driven because the dopamine hit of deciding to buy something is incredibly powerful. But that feeling relies entirely on immediacy. By the time your 72-hour timer goes off, the emotional, dopamine-driven urgency evaporates. You will find that for about 60% of the items, you do not even remember why you wanted them in the first place. To make this firewall unbreakable, you need to engage in some environmental design. Delete your saved credit card information from your favorite websites, and delete the shopping apps from your phone entirely. Make the act of spending money deeply inconvenient again. Friction is your ultimate financial friend. Every extra password you have to type and every time you have to physically get off the couch to find your wallet is another opportunity for your rational brain to wake up and ask if you really want to pay the second price tag. The architecture of American consumer culture is engineered to prevent you from ever feeling like you have enough. But you do not have to play their game. True wealth is the gap between what you earn and what you spend. It is the freedom to walk away from a toxic job, the resilience to absorb an emergency without panic, and the peace of mind that comes from knowing your money is quietly multiplying in the background while you sleep. I want you to calculate your own true hourly rate right now. Then head down to the comments and let me know, what is the most ridiculous purchase you ever made that definitely was not worth the hours of your life energy you traded for it? Set up your 72-hour firewall today, and I will see you in the next video.